A warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of us. Welcome to this edition of Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Kajura, but first, other headlines. No new taxes in the next financial year, but stricter in enforcing old ones, according to Minister Kasaija. Rwanda says it's not discouraged by cancellation of UK migrant flight. Ethiopia PM says committee looking into possibility of peace talks with Tigray rebels. In sports news today, upcountry clubs Toro Mbade joined 2022 Senior Pool League bandwagon. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. The Finance Minister, Matia Kasaija, has assured Ugandans that government will not introduce new taxes in the next financial year, 2022-2023, but rather more measures to enforce the old ones. Now, reading that 48 trillion shillings budget to MPs on Tuesday, Kasaija said that in a bid to achieve next financial year's budget priorities, government will see how to enhance domestic revenue mobilization than introducing new taxes. We have the report. The Finance Minister, Matia Kasaija, has said no new taxes will be introduced in financial year 2022-2023, but the country will achieve revenue targets by improving the efficiency in the tax collection and enhancing compliance to tax laws. He added that the capacity of Uganda Revenue Authority will be enhanced by recruiting and training staff, deploying appropriate equipment and ICT to enforce tax laws, taking cognizance of the current economic situation, but also the effect of the coronavirus pandemic. The Finance Minister said government will focus on getting tough on tax evaders to ensure it realizes its collections. To this, government will further strengthen URA to enable collect enough taxes to fund the 48 trillion shillings budget. He mentioned several amendments to tax laws that he said are intended to tighten the noose around tax evaders. The amendments under the Tax Procedures Code Act, among others, include the introduction of penalties of failure to adhere to electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution and digital tax stamps. This is intended to combat tax evasion, smuggling, and other vices. The minister said that the budget is one that aims at stimulating economic recovery, enhance productivity and competitiveness of enterprises, but also help in wealth creation and jobs for the ordinary Ugandans. To this, Minister Kasaija and government will work on ways of reducing its expenditure in the next financial year in a bid to realize the budgetary goals. Away from that, Uganda People's Congress UPC has revealed that they got numerous reports from its leaders and members that the officers in charge of compilation of village women's register and are not available in some of the gazetted areas. Now, this was said by the party spokesperson Arach Oyat Sharon during their weekly press briefing at their headquarters in Kampala.
Arach Oyat Sharon, the UPC spokesperson, says that the invisibility of officials in charge of compilation of village women's register in some areas makes it difficult for women's to register, hence deterring them from participating.
Uganda People's Congress would also like to extend its sincere gratitude to the Independent Electoral Commission for having considered our humble appeal to extend the deadline for the compilation of the village women's register, which started on Monday the 13th and will end on the 17th of June 2022, which will be this Friday. This decision, as it will enable all the eligible women to fully participate in the registration process and wholly participate in the women councils and committee elections from village to the national level.
She appreciated the Electoral Commission for extending the registration dates from 13th to 17th June 2022, as this will enable the eligible women who had missed registering to register.
We are absolutely prepared. We have foot soldiers on the ground. The regional chairperson, the district chairperson, the women leaders are all over the country. They're on the ground. We have had the party president go in some areas to campaign for some of those people, and he's also planning to meet some of these people. So yes, we are ground and we are ready for these elections. However, we are still mobilizing. It is never enough until it is over. Uganda People's Congress has also got numerous reports from its leaders and members that the officers in charge of the compilation of the village women registers are not visible in some of the gazetted areas, as well as making women registers, as well as making a random door registration exercise, which is contrary to the state guidelines, thus making it difficult for our women to register. And this may demoralize them from participating, and the system may seem rigged or influenced by other.
As a party, Sharon says they are more than ready to take up these positions across the country.
Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back for the break. As you're watching TV Africa, the right to know. In international news, the Rwandan government said on Wednesday that it was not discouraged by the cancellation of a flight to deport migrants from the United Kingdom to Rwanda the day before because of the legal challenges, and that it remained committed to the partnership. In new interim guidance on vaccine use against monkeypox, the World Health Organization said that contacts of cases should be offered post-exposure with vaccine within 4 days of first exposure to present onset of disease. The World Health Organization said that pre-exposure prophylaxis is recommended at this time only for health workers at risk, laboratory personnel working with orthopox viruses, clinical laboratory staff performing diagnostic testing for monkeypox, and others who may be at risk as per national policy. The World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom, PhD, said during a World Health Organization meeting that smallpox vaccine should not be used widely to fight monkeypox because there is limited clinical data and limited supply. Tedros also said that the World Health Organization is actively working to rename clades of monkeypox virus to further identify outbreaks and making sure valuable vaccines were being distributed to the endemic and non-endemic countries equitably. He said that the outbreak of monkeypox is unusual and concerning, which is why they decided to convene the emergency committee under the international health regulations next week to assess whether this outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern. Away from that, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on Tuesday spoke for the first time publicly about the possibility of peace negotiations with Tigrayan rebels who have been locked in a 19-month war with the federal forces. Take a look at the story.
Dispelling speculation that secret talks were already underway with the Tigray People's Liberation Front, Abiy said his government had instituted a committee to examine the possibility of holding negotiations. Abiy said that the committee will be headed by Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mekonnen, who also serves as Foreign Minister, and will draft a report detailing the preconditions for negotiations. The comments follow the government's declaration of an indefinite humanitarian truce in March, paving the way for humanitarian aid to reach the northernmost region of Tigray for the first time since mid-December. The conflict has driven hundreds of thousands of people to the brink of famine, displaced more than 2 million, and left more than 9 million in need of food aid, according to the United Nations. The thorny question of Western Tigray, a contested region claimed by both Amharas and Tigrayans, is among the issues expected to come up in any negotiations. The TPLF has repeatedly said that Western Tigray, which has been occupied by Amhara forces since the war erupted in November 2020, is a non-negotiable part of Tigray. The TPLF has already asked the United Nations Security Council to ensure the withdrawal of Amhara forces and Eritrean troops from the region.
Moving on, in international news, the United Nations International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals ruled on Monday that Felician Kabuga could stand trial. Now, the 87-year-old man is suspected financier of Rwanda's 1994 genocide, which claimed more than 800,000 lives. According to a statement, the defense has not established that Kabuga is presently unfit for trial. The decision comes after Kabuga's lawyers had sought to hold proceedings on health grounds. The UN court decided that Kabuga shall remain detained at the Hague branch of the mechanism and that this trial shall start there until otherwise decided, adding that the suspect should be subject to periodic monitoring by a panel of independent medical experts every 180 days from the filing of this decision. Kabuga was arrested in May 2020 in a Paris suburb after 25 years on the run. He is accused by the MICT of genocide, incitement to commit genocide, and crimes against humanity. He presided the National Defense Fund of the radio television Libre des Mille Collines, which broadcast calls for the killing of Tutsis. The Special Representative of the UN Secretary-General for Mali, El Ghazi Mwane, has reiterated the need for the extension of the mandate of United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, better known as MINUSMA, for another year. We have the story. Briefing the Security Council on Monday, when say that security situation in Mali remains volatile and of the particular concern along the tri-border area in the center. He added that though the challenges in the country are numerous and complex, they are far from being insurmountable. When told the UN briefing that while there has been undeniable improvement in some areas and a concomitant weakening and extremist groups, the latter still continues to conduct frequent attacks against Malian and MINUSMA forces as well as civilian populations suspected of collaborating with Malian forces. The Special Representative honored the memory of all peacekeepers who have lost their lives since the inception of the mission. He added that their ultimate sacrifice illustrates the challenges and complexities they face and further underscores the need to ensure the mission has the requisite capabilities, including armed and utility helicopters. According to the Special Representative, from January to March 2022, there was a sharp increase in human rights abuses compared to the previous quarter, resulting in the killing of 543 people as opposed to 128 from October to December last year. The prevailing security environment in Mali has compounded the humanitarian situation in the country. In 2022, 7.5 million persons will require humanitarian assistance compared to 5.9 million in 2021, according to the UN. At this particular moment, Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, health, and sports. Welcome back from the break. Talking matters business. More than 1,800 participants, including heads of states and several hundred leaders of the largest African and international companies, are gathered in Abidjan, the economic capital of Ivory Coast, for the Africa CEO Forum 2022. Take a look at the story.
This 2022 edition of the Africa CEO Forum, which kicked off on Monday, comes at a time when the world in general and Africa in particular is going through great economic shocks. Frederick Mary, Managing Director of Jean Afrique and organizer of this meeting, highlighted the return of the forum on the significance of in-person meetings. Mary said that the last edition of the Africa CEO Forum took place in 2019 in Kigali with great success, where they had 1,500 participants at the time who had gathered around the theme of the Africa Continental Free Trade Treaty. Many of the companies present at the forum have welcomed its return. For them, this is a real platform for exchange and reflection solutions for Africa's growth and development. Patricia Obozua, Vice President of Coca-Cola Africa, said that they were delighted to partner with the advocacy firm for the Women Working for Change section, which is close to her heart as a person and to their company, as they are committed to promoting diversity. In his speech at the opening ceremony, Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, praised the resilience of African economies despite the economic crisis that the world is experiencing. Yannick Janihon reports that for the first time since 2019, the largest gathering of the African private sector held in person is going on smoothly, having started on Monday, June 13th. He said that this 2022 edition, it should be noted, marks the 10th anniversary of the Africa CEO Forum.
In our health news today, more than 3,100 confirmed and suspected cases of monkeypox in 32 non-endemic and 7 endemic countries. The World Health Organization today said it does not recommend mass vaccination campaigns at this time to limit the outbreaks and instead emphasized contact tracing and isolation to limit the further spread of the pox virus. In new interim guidance on vaccine use against monkeypox, the World Health Organization said that contacts of cases should be offered post-exposure with vaccine within 4 days of first exposure to present onset of disease. The World Health Organization said that pre-exposure prophylaxis is recommended at this time only for health workers at risk, laboratory personnel working with orthopox viruses, clinical laboratory staff performing diagnostic testing for monkeypox, and others who may be at risk as per national policy. The World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom, PhD, said during a World Health Organization meeting that smallpox vaccine should not be used widely to fight monkeypox because there is limited clinical data and limited supply. Tedros also said that the World Health Organization is actively working to rename clades of monkeypox virus to further identify outbreaks and making sure valuable vaccines were being distributed to the endemic and non-endemic countries equitably. He said that the outbreak of monkeypox is unusual and concerning, which is why they decided to convene the emergency committee under the international health regulations next week to assess whether this outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern. In our sports news today, as the 2022 Senior Pool League kicks off on Wednesday, 15th June at Tico's and Jigo's Bar, Chiwatule in Kampala City, with one game, 12 other clubs shall be keen to wait their feet 2 days later. Now 14 clubs made the requirements to register for the 2022 season. 2 clubs are from upcountry in the eastern part of the country. This are Mbale Pool Club and Tororo Tigers Pool Club. We have the report.
On match day 1, Mbale has a home game against Capital Knight this Saturday 18th June at the Oak Bar and Lodge located along the Mbale Soroti Road. Tororo Tigers, on the other hand, will make the long trip to face Kansanga at the Amigo Sports Bar in Kansanga, a suburb of Kampala City. Pool Association of Uganda Vice President Robert Pipol Kayanja noted during the official launch of this league that a number of clubs were severely affected by COVID-19 and have not been able to return. Former winners Ntinda Giants, Ronzi and Kampala Central Women are some of the clubs that have not registered for the 2022 season. That said, if such clubs ever wish to return to competitive action, they will begin with the regional and second division leagues. Besides the aforementioned, Hotpool shall take on Chireka at the Tickles and Giggles in Kiwatule, and Sinkers face Nakawa at Casablanca, Wandegear. Upper Volta will square up against Akanya at the Upper Volta Sports Arena in Kasubi, as Club 408 will host Wakiso City Giants at the Navigator Bar in Ntinda. The black ball pool rules will be enforced according to the PAU tournament Secretary Ismail Nkata Kalibala.
It is at this particular time that I thank you for being part of us and always joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the bright to know.